Welcome to the Happier and Healthier podcast. I'm your host, Maria Marlowe, and this is a place where we don't rely on good luck or good genes for our health and happiness, but rather we create it with our thoughts and our actions each and every single day. Each week, I'll bring you a thought or a guest that will help you live your happiest and healthiest life. Are you ready? This episode is brought to you by Primally Pure, my favorite all-natural skincare line. You can check out their products at primallypure.com. That's PRIMALLYPURE.com and use the code MARIA10 for 10% off your order. Whether you're looking for non-toxic aluminum-free deodorant that actually works, an all-natural lip balm that soothes chapped lips unlike any other and will keep your lips soft all winter long, or face creams and serums that'll keep your skin smooth, supple, and radiant, you must check out Primally Pure. I've been using their beauty cream, fancy face serum, lip balms, and deodorant for over a year now, and I'm hooked. Their beauty cream keeps my skin hydrated all winter, and while it's deeply nourishing, it's not heavy or greasy. Their fancy face serum is a blend of oils that heal scars and brighten your complexion. And I keep their lip balms in every single purse and coat pocket that I have, as well as on my desk, so it's never too far. Their creamsicle flavor is my fave. I love that it deeply moisturizes and nourishes my lips without being sticky, and it lasts for a long time before you have to reapply. As for their deodorant, I wrote a whole blog post on that and why I love it. I've used both their regular and their Blue Tansy deodorant, and both work really well. You can find my in-depth reviews of their products at mariamarlowe.com/blog. Just search Primally Pure. And to order, you can head to primallypure.com and use code MARIA10 for 10% off your order. Welcome back to the Happier and Healthier podcast. Today, I'm joined by Danielle Paige, who I'm super excited to have on the show. She has been a friend via Instagram for a while now, always supporting my posts, and she's a friend of my good friend, Sahara Rose, and so I've heard her on her podcast, and I'm so glad to finally have her on mine. So Danielle is an intuitive healer who interprets astrological birth charts and energy to help you gain more confidence and clarity on your purpose and path. So I'm super interested in what you have to say on my purpose and path. And I'm super excited to talk about astrology and how it could help us live our healthiest, happiest life. So Danielle, thank you for being here.
Thank you so much for being here and for the beautiful introduction. And it's so nice to finally meet you in person after I was stalking your Instagram, especially looking at your love story. That's how it all started.
It's so funny.
And your work, obviously, your beautiful work.
It's so funny because you feel like you know someone because you know their whole Instagram life and you follow their Instagram stories and stuff.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah. So can you tell us, how did you get interested in astrology?
So it's really funny because it's definitely never one of those things where I was younger and saying, oh, when I grow up, I'm going to be an astrologer. I didn't even know this existed. The irony is, if I go back, I was obsessed with space when I was younger. But I mean, like most little kids are, but I had all these little models in my room. But I was just, living the life, living the human journey. I went to business school and then I got my master's in interior architecture because I was always very creative and always moving things around the house and redecorating. And that was a passion of mine. So I got my master's in that. And then I was working and I wasn't really happy doing it. And I felt that there was more, but I had no idea what that was. So that was a journey. That was like a couple years of me, not being happy at work and trying to figure out what it was. But again, I really did not know what I was here for. So the pain that a lot of people feel, I've been there. I basically, until I started this career, which we'll get to, I've quit every job that I've ever had. And then I thought, there's something wrong with me. But no, it just wasn't the right job. It wasn't the right career. So then around my Saturn return, which was at 29, 30 years old for everyone, it happened to be my 30th birthday. And I went to France with my boyfriend at the time who I was living with. And he dumped me on my 30th birthday in France.
Oh my God.
100%. Yep. Amazing.
A-hole.
Amazing story. So that started the journey. Now, we were not supposed to be together long term and we were supposed to go our separate ways. But again, there's always free will. There's a way to do things, and we didn't necessarily need to be in France doing that. But that started my journey. So I went back. We were living together in Boston at the time, and I had to move out because it was his house. And then I decided, I'm not really happy, even though I'm working at one of the top architecture firms in the world. It wasn't what I wanted to do. So I quit the job without knowing anything that I want to do. And I decided to move back to California. I actually, before that, I was like, you know what, let me try New York because I've always wanted to. So I was actually here in New York for 3 months. I'm sleeping on couches. However, it was when the economy tanked, couldn't find a design job. I was crying over my breakup and I just really wasn't in the best emotional state. So I woke up one morning after 3 months and said, okay, it's officially, I'm going back to California. So I go back to California. Again, this is when the economy tanked. It was around 2008. There were no design jobs, couldn't find anything. So I'm 30 years old, living at home, haven't lived there since I was 18. My friends are getting married, a lot of them, and I'm have a master's and no job, no money, and crying every day. So I'm like, wow, things are really going well. I'm like, this is great, guys. Like, this is exactly how I saw my life going, let me tell you. So at that time, everything was meant to be. I was supposed to go home. In hindsight, thank God I had a house to go to. Thank God I had parents that were there for me. And, thank God they lived in Los Angeles. So it wasn't something like in like the middle of the tundra. So it was great. So unbeknownst to me, things were about to start happening, right? Danielle over here has no clue. And so what happened is it started with dreams, because dreams are the way that spirit can speak to you because we're out of our own way. And we're going to talk about intuition. You're really intuitive. I see it all over your chart and I see it looking at you right now. So that's big in your chart. So that was the way for them to get into my psyche without, my logical mind in the way. And I would have dreams that were very real and start telling me stuff that would happen during the day. And I'm like, well, that's strange. How did I know about that? And here you have to understand, I wasn't in the spiritual world before. I didn't know anything. Every once in a while I would read a book throughout my life on intuition because I was drawn to that. That was them setting spirit, putting that in my way and setting the stage, but I didn't know what that meant. It's not as open as it was now. This was 10 years ago. So it really, in 10 years, we've done so much to make it more accessible. So it was dreams, and then they were really emotional dreams, and I was wondering, why was I feeling stuff so deeply? And then it started where, and I hope your audience is okay with this because I don't hide anything, and this is who I am. I started waking up and seeing spirits in the middle of the night. And so that at first really scared me, not because like they were doing anything scary, but because I've never seen anything like that before. I didn't grow up, you always hear these stories. People grow up seeing spirits or talking to, well, no, I didn't do any of that. That just wasn't my thing. So that was very scary to me. And I didn't sleep with the lights off for 2 weeks. I didn't tell my parents because I didn't even know what was actually happening to me at first. And then I started realizing, because I was listening to my intuition and the information that spirit was putting through, if I got more afraid, I was going to attract a lower vibration. And so I had to literally be okay and not know what's going on, but be like, Danielle, don't be scared of this. It's okay. It's safe. Because then it would attract something, that was negative. It's just like negative people, there's negative spirits. So I had to sort of train myself to be okay with this. And then, I started realizing that I'm not going crazy. There's actually something here. There's something real. And that's when spirit started opening me up. And at that time, my psychic abilities just came flying out. It was like Pandora's box because they've been closed for 30 years. Again, I was very intuitive here and there, but nothing to the level what happened at 30. Everything just flew open and it was overwhelming, seeing visions, seeing spirits, sensing things, foreshadowing things, constantly getting emotional, just being an empath. And it started to calm down, but I had to learn how to work with all of this. And so then it became this journey of, okay, what is going on? There's more beyond the physical realm. And there's something really here. And it was at that moment when I said, this is what I'm here for, because I've always known that there's something more, but I never knew what it was. And then about a year after that, so my healing and my spiritual awakening started. And then about a year after that, I met someone, a friend, at this horrible temp job that I was working at just to make money, property management. And they only come in the office to yell at you. I mean, like, could you imagine like what empath works in a property management, right? That's like the worst thing ever. But I didn't know, and I just needed money. So there's people throwing things at me, and I'm like, my God, no, I can't handle this. So one of the computer guys there, we became friends. We went out to dinner, and he's like, let me read your chart. Because he was kind of like, I don't want to say weird because like I'm definitely weird, but I don't mean it in a negative way. But
we're all weird.
Yeah, we're all weird. Like he was definitely like he sensed it in me too. So that's where we connected. He's like, hey, there's this thing called astrology, and I'm going to read your chart. I'm like, okay, that's cool. I didn't know anything about it. So he read my chart. And I'm like, wow, how do you know that much about me when you don't even know me? And so I went home that night, got online, started reading about it, and the sun came up and I was still reading about it because I was hooked. It was like hook, line, and sinker, and I couldn't stop. And so from that point forward, I spent hours upon hours. Any moment that I was not in that horrible property management company, I was at home with my parents, in their house studying and studying like 15 hours a day. And I taught myself astrology because it's something my soul has done so many times. So I just needed to remember. So then through astrology, I realized, okay, let's use this as the anchor. And then we combine all my gifts. And then I started a company, maybe a couple of years later. Didn't make money for the longest time, but knew this was my purpose. So I stuck with it and, had to learn how to be an entrepreneur because here I am thinking, I just want to help people. But as you know, you got to learn how to be an entrepreneur as well as helping people. So that was a very naive moment of me. But, I think sometimes being naive is where we jump in. So, and then it continued on many years, probably until I was about 37, from 30 to 37. I was deep in my healing journey. So working with a healer, clearing out old behavioral patterns, really the old Danielle, everything had to go. So it was awakening to a new consciousness. And that was painful, lost a lot of friends, spent many years alone. I know that's why Spirit tells me that I wasn't able to be with someone in a relationship because I had to do this for my purpose. And then, really focus on my career. So everyone has a different journey. That's why I'm putting that in there to help anyone that might be single and worrying that they missed the boat. We all have our own journeys. And so that is my story.
Wow.
Not in a nutshell, but there you go.
Wow. Incredible.
Yeah.
I mean, I think for many of us, that's the way that life is. Very rarely does someone grow up from a young age knowing, okay, this is exactly what I'm going to do for the rest of my life and then actually do it. Right. I think some of us have that conviction and then we do it and we're like, no, I want to do something else, right? So for all of us, so I can totally relate to that. I also didn't think I was going to grow up and be in nutrition and wellness. I wanted to be Britney Spears' backup dancer. So,
oh my gosh,
I've come a long way.
That's amazing. Well, I think that you can still do that.
Now for Beyonce, though.
Yeah, Beyonce for sure.
So many things that I want to ask you from that. Well, first off, for anyone who, we're going to dive a little bit deeper into astrology and how it can help us. But for anyone who's like a little bit skeptical about astrology, what do you have to say to that?
First of all, I understand and I hear you. And I don't blame you that you're skeptical because it makes sense. I'm a very logical person. I have a master's in interior architecture. So not just the decoration, the actual construction of buildings. So I get it. My dad is an aerospace engineer. So again, I have that linear thinking and that mentality. So I understand that part. At the end of the day, there's a couple of things. We're all energy. So astrology is the study of movement of the stars and the constellation of the planets in relation to us, and which are humans here on Earth. And it's really the behavioral patterns. So if you look at everything as energy, everything is a vibration, every planet has a different vibration. How does the moon rule the ocean and the gravitational pull? Everything is connected. So once we start stepping into that realm, we start seeing that there is something so much larger than us. Yes, we're human. Yes, we're here to be in our bodies for a reason, but we are still souls, right? We're renting this vessel. So that, the other thing is that a lot of people read horoscopes and I don't do horoscopes. It's not what I do. And horoscopes are so broad in general. I actually don't even believe in them because it comes down to looking at the collective energy, just the energy in the air, right? And how we all feel it, and then your own personal birth chart. So I see if people read horoscopes, they're like, this is, BS. I understand that. The thing is, it's not what I do. Astrology is a mystical, ancient tool used to help people understand their pattern and their rhythm. My new tagline is embody your soul's cosmic rhythm. And it's really beautiful because that's what it is. It's about dancing your own dance and moving to the beat that works for you. And it's in your birth chart.
Right. So it sounds like astrology can help define your path and your dharma, as Sahara would say, right? Your path, your purpose in life. And it's something that we all have. We're all born with some sort of purpose. And then using astrology, we can help define that and see it more clearly, because sometimes it is very murky. Like, we don't know. So many people don't know exactly what they want to do or what path to take. Right.
Absolutely.
So you mentioned Saturn return.
Yeah.
Can you explain what that is?
Yeah, absolutely. So Saturn return gets really popular because I think a lot of people around the age of, 28, 29, 30 are on social media and they're trying to figure out what's going on. So let me just preface this with, there are many cycles that we go through. Saturn return is just one of them. So we have cycles throughout our life, but this is a very popular one. So Saturn return is when the planet Saturn moves around the entire zodiac in the sky, and it comes back to the placement in your birth chart. Okay, and we'll talk about birth charts later. So it comes back to the placement in your birth chart, and that happens for everyone around 28, 20 and a half, 29, 30. It just depends on someone's personal birth chart, but around that time. So if someone is older and they go back to that, or someone is in that phase right now, it's they're aware that around that time people start thinking, okay, maybe I want to change careers, or maybe I want to settle down and get married, or maybe, I've been in this relationship and it's not working for me and I want to break free. Maybe I want to get married now. Maybe I want to have a baby now. Maybe the divorce needs to happen now. We start shifting gears because here's the other thing. Even if we don't believe in astrology, because many people don't, we're still going to feel the energy. So someone could say, oh, I don't believe in it. I could pull up their chart and be like, okay, you can pretend like you don't believe in it, but I know that you're feeling this, this, and this, and this, right? And then they look at me with their eyeballs bulged out. And I'm like, okay, but don't believe in it, but you're going to be feeling this, because I know exactly what they're feeling by looking at it. So with Saturn, we feel, it's like we could party our whole life, and then when Saturn comes around, it's the disciplinary. It's saying, okay, you know what? Maybe I've been partying too much or having too much fun or being too carefree. Now I need to get my ducks in a row. And that's the energy of Saturn. It's restrictive. It's, it's about responsibility. It's about our soul maturity. It's about saying, what are we here to do? And because Saturn is connected to our karma and our dharma, it gets us in alignment with our past. So it's exactly why I didn't know anything about spirituality. I mean, I was doing Kundalini yoga when I was 22, so that was like in 1810. So I was doing it because I found it at a store and found it on like the VHS. I don't even know what it's called anymore. And I put it into the VCR, and I would do it like when my roommates were gone because I didn't want them to see, because it was like so weird. So I was doing that forever. So my soul felt it, but like I didn't know I was spiritual. Okay. So, but during my Saturn return, it's in the 9th house, which is about spirituality. So the universe said, okay, it's time for her, pulled me, threw me in this path that I didn't know about, because that was what I'm here for. So the point of me saying that is, we have to fulfill and then start the journey of where our Saturn is based on our Saturn return. And everyone's is different because it goes down to our chart. Yeah, that's where people really do freak out of, what do I want to do? What am I here for? It's a real thing that people go through. And so we have one at 30, and then we also have one around 59, 60. It's different because, around 30, it's like, we don't know. We're like really trying to figure out who we are. Hopefully by, 59, 60, we have a better insight, but then some people don't. So, we still go through it, but it takes 30 years to go around. So that's what happens.
Yeah, so interesting. No, and as you're saying that, I can think of in my own life around 29, 30, how things drastically changed.
Yep, they do for everyone.
Yeah, and it would be really interesting, actually, when I post this on Instagram. I'd love to hear from people in the comments what they experienced.
I would love to read that too.
Yeah. So Saturn return, I feel like probably on the West Coast, you hear that more. On the East Coast, not as much. But one thing that you do hear more in popular culture now more than ever is Mercury retrograde and different retrogrades. So what exactly are they and why do they mess everything up?
Yeah, let's talk about this. So, yes, Mercury retrograde got very popular. Here's the thing I always say, and I say it every time on my Instagram, is that don't freak out during Mercury retrograde. It's not going to kill you. It is like a little kid brother that's poking at you constantly or throwing darts in your hair. It's very annoying. So, put that in perspective for everyone. Okay, so any retrograde is a time when it's a shift in perspective. So it appears from our perspective here on Earth, it appears that a planet goes backwards. It doesn't actually move backwards, but it does from our perspective. It's just like being on a train and you have a train next to you and it looks like it's going slow or it looks like it's going backwards when it's not. So it's our perspective here on Earth. So when that happens, the energy is not as direct. And if we go back to what I said before, every planet is a vibration and energy. Okay, so Mercury rules transportation, it rules electronics. That's why electronics go awry. It rules communication in all forms. That's hence the electronics. It's our speech and our communication and our thinking. So it's our mind and all those abilities. So when it goes retrograde, it has a tendency to get a little bit scrambled. So that's why, my phone always ends up, something happens with it. Like the volume doesn't work or, like I can't turn it on, but it's just like, it's one of those things that comes with the territory. But the beautiful thing and what a lot of people don't hear is that it's an opportunity for us to go back and to see things from a different perspective that we wouldn't normally see. So because the wires get skewed, we could be open to psychic information or just any information that we might not have heard or seen. But the idea is to not make a rush judgment or make a decision during it, to take the information in and think about it. How am I communicating with my partner? How am I communicating with my boss? What needs to change? Oh, I didn't know that my boyfriend, husband, girlfriend, sister was doing this. Wow, let me consider this. Now I see it from her point of view or his point of view. Let me think about how I'm going to talk about that. Let's have a conversation about it right now. So it does get confusing, but it is a beautiful opportunity. Anytime it's retrograde, it's just about the energy going inward. So we go in and we rethink and we rehash and we redo. So that's why a lot of exes come back. They don't see, that's the thing. They might not believe in astrology, but people reach out during Mercury retrograde. And I was thinking about you. Yeah, you were, because we're reversing and going back, but you don't believe in astrology, so just don't worry about that, right?
So crazy.
But we're all, I don't want to say it's like we're puppets because we have more power than that. But just on a very mundane level, just think of it as the planets, we're puppets to them and we feel the energy. We have control, but we're still going to feel like if they jerk my arm to the right, I'm going to feel it. Like I can, learn to work with that, but I'm going to feel it.
Yeah, no, it's so fascinating. And once you understand it a little bit more, you can work with it and,
Yes.
Not get frustrated when things are going so crazy. Or I know some people who will wait and not do things business wise. They'll wait until like the retrograde's over.
Yeah. And sometimes that's a good idea. One thing that I always say is try not to stop your life. I've had to get car leases during retrograde. I've had to sign jobs, in the past during retrograde. So life doesn't stop, but just there's always a caveat I've noticed. So you just make sure that you're reading the information, you're getting clear, but also a lot of karmic things happen. I remember getting a job when my family was moving to Florida. This was before I had my business. And I was like, I had nothing. And right at the last minute, I got a job with a company car, gas card, credit card. And it was like that literally fell out of the sky. It was during Mercury retrograde. I had to sign. And, it saved me at the time. And I ended up, there was a lot of karma with the people I worked with. It was a lot of past life stuff, a lot of lessons I had to learn. So there were experiences. So there's always something with Mercury retrograde. But again, you don't stop life because I needed those experiences to be where I am today,
Right, of course.
Yeah.
So let's talk, I think, probably the most interesting aspect of astrology, which is using it or looking at your birth chart to help figure out your path.
Yeah.
So, I'm so curious what my chart would say.
Yeah. So there is so much in a chart, first of all. And when I do sessions, I let everyone know that it's impossible to go over everything in an hour. There's just no way. It takes years and years and years. But when we're talking about birth chart, what we mean here is I have your birth date, your birth time, so the exact birth time and the location, and I put it into a computer program. So anyone could go to astro.com and pull it up for free, but they would just need to learn how to read it. So, I mean, because it looks like gibberish.
Yeah,
I know it's insane.
Looks like a bunch of lines
It is.
and symbols.
It's like Egyptian. I love it. It's my soul. So we have your birth chart here. Let me put on these glasses so I could.
She's putting on these blue light glasses, which are amazing.
I love it. Okay, so, again, there are so many things in a birth chart. Is there anything in particular that you're curious about, or would you like me just to go in and...
Well, I'm curious, career-wise, what it says. And then, of course, I'm always curious, like everyone is curious relationship-wise and love-wise. I mean, I'm in love and I found the one that I want to be with, but I just feel like it's so interesting to see.
Absolutely. Like you have a certain love language, how you love, what's meaningful to you. Everyone has. Can you take me seriously like this right now? Okay. I don't know if you can take me seriously.
So I have these nerd glasses that I saw J-Lo wearing. Okay. And they looked super cute on her because she's J-Lo, obviously. So I bought them and they're like super nerdy. They were $30 and they're blue light blocking. So it's really great when you're looking at computer screens or your phone screen. It really keeps your eyes feeling very nice and calm, and they don't get red and irritated at the end of the day, but they are very big and very nerdy. So.
I love it. I feel so official right now. I should do this with all my clients. Okay, so when I first look at career, there's a couple things here. Let's start with purpose and the axis, because for you, it's going to lead into career. Okay, so there's something called the South Node and the North Node. I love this. A lot of Western astrologers, which was what I do, don't talk about this. It came to me intuitively when I was studying this that, oh my God, this is one of the most important things. And I just took it and ran with it. And it's very common in Vedic astrology, but I incorporate this in because to me, this South Node, North Node axis shows me about your soul, where your soul came from and where your soul is going in this lifetime. So it's really important because beyond your sun sign, you happen to have your South Node in the same sign as your sun sign. That's not always common. Again, there's no good or bad, but it's almost like you have a leg up because you already know that energy, okay, which we'll talk about. But the South Node shows me people's deeply ingrained behavioral patterns. So for most people, you are more your South Node than you are your sun sign, okay? So that's really important to find out where your South Node is. And then these are the traits that are just very easy, very comfortable. You know how to do this. It's very natural for you, okay? With your North Node, this shows me, okay, this is one of the main reasons why your soul incarnated in this lifetime. Why are you here? What are you here to work on? What are you here to step into? And throughout your life, you're going to be working on this. So it's... When I tell people this, they say, oh, yeah, I recognize that. And I'm sure that they do. But there's a big difference between recognizing it on a mental level and then actually embodying it and being that vibration, because none of us are that all the time. We are all our South Node because that's normal to us. So it's about being aware and stepping into this energy of our North Node more as we evolve and get older. So it's the rest of our life. Okay. So for you, you have a South Node. It is in Libra as well as your sun sign. Again, not everyone has that, but some people do. And it's also in the 12th house. So this is actually, and you have your, Libra on the 12th house. Okay. So you've actually done relationships a lot in past lifetimes. You are very relationship oriented. Your soul has done this. You're still here in this lifetime to do relationships because you're a Libra sun. So, it would be a different story if I just saw your South Node in Libra and you didn't have your sun sign in Libra. But because you chose to have a sun in Libra, you're still here to have Libra experiences and relationships. Okay. So relationships for you and how we learn about ourselves through the mirror of someone else is part of your soul journey. Okay.
And is that relationships like a romantic relationship all relationships? All kinds.
Libras tend to really love the romantic type.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. But it is relationships of all kinds. So it's funny just why, your assistant's here and because there's that relationship,
Yeah.
Yeah, they just, you tend to like that and tend to gravitate towards that. It's like, okay, let's, I'm still going to do my own thing, but let's have you to work together or bounce this off the idea. It's just relationships of all kind. Okay. Your South Node is also in the 12th house. The 12th house is really beautiful. It's, it's the house of Pisces. So it's very much connected to other realms. So this is why I know that you are super psychic, super intuitive. Are you open about that? Are you...
Well, I definitely feel very intuitive for
You're
sure.
very intuitive.
Yeah.
And if you told me you weren't, I'd be like, okay, well, she's just maybe not accepted that part yet because like this chart doesn't lie. And I can see it too. So, but
Yeah.
I'm glad that you know that already.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I definitely feel like I can just, yeah, I just get an intuition about things or people or events or predicting things and
Yep.
stuff very easily.
Yep. Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
And just as we were saying that, the light was coming in here. And I'm like, do you know you're intuitive? And it was like, oh, yeah, that was amazing. So, yeah, very intuitive. The thing about, there's always a shadow energy with the 12th house. Okay. So the 12th house, because you actually have a lot of planets here, you have your sun sign, your south node, and your Mercury. You have to be careful of escapism. And so, escapism, now I'm not saying for you, I'm saying this for everyone across the board. People that have strong 12th house or Pisces energy in their chart, there is escapism in all forms. It could come in, just like crying in the room and escaping, or staying in the room, or daydreaming and not really getting anything done, or drugs. I see a lot of people with 12th house or Pisces. And again, I'm not saying you at all. I'm just letting the audience know. It could be drugs. It could be alcohol. It could be a sex addiction. It could be a shopping addiction. There is some usual escapism. So that could be a shadow side. And especially when we're younger, it's very easy. And it's the reason why your soul wants to escape is because you're so connected to the other realm. So when you were younger, I believe you were probably even more connected to the other realm. Did you ever have imaginary like friends or anything like that? I'm just asking because of all this 12th house energy in your chart.
I don't know if I had imaginary friends, but I definitely had a lot of occurrences, like weird things where I
Yeah.
did feel like, I don't know if they were spirits or ghosts or
Yeah.
whatever, but I did have like experiences
When you were young.
when I was young,
Yeah,
like
because you were so open then. Yeah.
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 And when you were talking and you were saying a little bit about your journey,
Yeah.
it was bringing it back. I feel like I've blocked those out of my mind because I'm like, I didn't understand it. I didn't know what it
Right.
was. And
Yep.
yeah, so I just kind of forgot about them until you were recounting your story.
I have a tendency, sorry, not sorry, to open people up. We definitely, like, I take the key, unlock it, and I'm like, here you go. So, but it's okay because that's your truth, because you are so connected to spirit and so connected to your higher self and other realms. So that is part of your gift here on earth. Now, you just have to watch yourself through any shadow of escapism, or also sacrificing yourself and becoming a martyr and helping people and rescuing people that need help. So I don't know if you've done a lot of that.
For sure.
Because there's a lot of compassion with the 12th house energy, but with compassion, and I did this too, because I have all this Pisces in my chart. I used to find boyfriends growing up, fix them up, help them with their house, help them with their career, life. I was like their life coach, not even knowing I was doing this, send them on their way, and then they would break up with me and then like get married. I was like, what?
Yeah.
The hell. So then I'm like, I got to get paid for this because I'm actually really good at it, right? So you have to make sure you're not taking in, the wounded puppy dogs and rescuing people, even friendships like that as well.
I used to do that. I used to
Oh
do
yeah,
that all the
I see that. I
time.
can see that on your chart,
But I've stopped that now.
Yeah, good.
But yeah, I definitely said, and I could even see the escapism too, because
Yeah,
I
it's
always
important.
like my inclination is to like, I want to go away sometimes, or I'll use chocolate as my escapism.
Totally.
Like I
Yeah.
notice that I'll turn to it when I need to escape, when I need
Right.
that break. So
Yep.
yeah.
So just knowing that, listen, we're still here to eat chocolate. We're still here to have moments of escapism because you're daydreaming and getting downloads. So that's okay. But it's knowing this, it's saying, okay, have I gone too far? Again, not for you, but for other people. I know people with placements like this that have done every drug in the world because they don't want to be here, because the 12th house is connected to spirit. They might not say they don't want to be here, but it's so much easier and lighter to be dancing on a cloud with a unicorn, right? And seeing all these things than actually paying your bills and doing, right?
Right.
So there is that inclination there, but also it's one of your gifts that you have to connect, and you have this compassion. And we're going to get back to that because it's going to be full circle in a moment. Okay. So with the Libra, though, the one thing is, your soul could have a tendency to sacrifice self for another, like not just the being a martyr could happen with 12th house, but it's also like, oh yeah, I wanted to do this, but it's okay. Let's just do this. It's like whatever Libra is very like, sure, whatever you like, because it's like it doesn't want to rock the boat, wants to be pleasing. So it's actually very graceful. And Libras are very beautiful and they're very classy and they're very graceful. I was just writing a post on that. And it's true, they are. They're very eloquent. They're like very, Meghan Markle is I'm obsessed with her. She's a Leo, I think. Yeah, I'm sure she's a Leo. But to me, she feels like a Libra, because she has the presence of a Leo, but she's very graceful. And that's how Libras are. There's a meme going around, says like what Libra looks like when they give birth. And it was like full hair, makeup, perfectly curled, like full outfit. And like, yeah, I was like, that's so Libra. That is so Libra.
I hope that's what I look like when I'm giving birth.
And I sent it to my Libra friend and she showed me her picture after birth. And I'm like, I actually don't even look like that when I get my makeup and hair done. Like, that's crazy. So, yes. So Libra, though, you have to watch out to not sacrifice your desires for other people. Okay. What you're learning in this lifetime, you have a North Node in Aries in the 6th house. So we're opposites. So my North Node is actually Libra. So I'm learning relationships and you've got to master that. Okay. What you're learning in this lifetime, the 6th house is work. It's our purpose. It's about being present, being in our body. So here's the thing. Obviously, I know what you do. I follow your work and love your work. But let's say you're a client that came to me that I don't know, found me online, fills out a form, most of my clients. I would say, hey, maybe you should do something with the body, something with food, health, nutrition. Are you interested in anything like that? Because that is your part of your purpose. So again, obviously I know what you do, but it's right here. The 6th house is about our day-to-day work, prioritizing our life, making things efficient, making things organized. It's very Virgo. It's also improving and health and digestion and body and everything that makes us in our routine and makes us healthy and better. Okay. So you are definitely aligned with what you are doing.
Crazy.
I know. Yeah. And so the 6th house, when you have the 6th house, 12th house axis here, it's very important about, the 6th house is really our dharma. It's our right work, what we're here to do, along with the 12th. So it's that you're bringing, I think, moving forward, you're going to actually bring more channeling into what you do, or consciously. Like, I know you're already doing it. You've written the books, everything, but like really, consciously like making appointments with people and maybe seeing what they need, like intuitively, like, oh, you're lacking this, or it's like the medical medium.
Okay, so this is so funny because I'll like look at people and I'll be like, I'll know exactly what is, I'll know what they need. I'll know what they're not eating, what they are eating.
Yep. There you go.
If they have some sort of deficiency, and it's usually spot on.
Yep, absolutely. And we've never, for anyone that's listening, we haven't talked about this part before. I didn't know that but I see that. I know. So one thing that I always say is I see people's trajectory, where they're going, even if it's not tomorrow, even if they're not doing it now, this is where you're going to go. Right? So I know that there's going to be a lot more of intuition and really bringing that in because it's part of your journey.
Wow.
Yeah. And so that can come in any form that you want it to, because we are creators. So that can come and look, you can make it obvious that you're channeling, or you could not at all. It's up to you, but really you're going to be using it.
Yeah, I mean, I never really thought about it. I mean, it's really just in my day-to-day life. I'll look at someone and be like, wow, that person has adrenal fatigue. This person has this person has this.
Yeah, but that's your intuition and you're sensing it. People think psychic abilities is like, all of a sudden I could just see your future. And sure, maybe that's one way, but psychic abilities come in many different forms. When I look at people, I'm like, oh, they're very Scorpio-like, or they're very this. And they might not be a Scorpio, but they're just speaking to my language. It's spirit. So they're showing me. So then if I ask, are you Scorpio? They're like, no, you should know, you're an astrologer. And I'm like, okay, whatever. But I know that spirit was just showing me that's their vibration and I know what that means. So spirit speaks to you in many ways.
Yeah.
Right? They choose the language that works for you. Now, the other part of this with your North Node in Aries. So in this lifetime, you are learning independence. You are learning how to totally stand on your own, how to jump in, trust your instincts, not second guess yourself, not ask other people, oh, should I do this? Should I do that? I'm going back, and Libra likes to go back and forth, back and forth. Oh my God.
Yes.
Oh my God. Dating a Libra guy. Oh, geez, that was a disaster, right? I'm like, mega decision. Yeah. So, Libra does, because they're the scales, they're the balance. They want it to be fair and PC. So with Aries trusts their instinct. They jump in. They say, this is what I want. This is what I'm going to go for. They do it. So you're learning real courage. You're learning to be brave. You're learning to be a pioneer. You're learning to do things first before people give you permission. And you're learning your soul. So your true soul journey is one of independence. Now, I know still going to be about relationships because you are a Libra sun, but there's the balance, right? I don't ever see something in a chart that's like, oh, it's only this and nothing else. It's all balance. And you did choose to be a Libra sun for a reason, to keep bringing that into balance. So for you, but it's more independence. And I love that obviously your fiance now doesn't live in the same place, but that's probably for a reason, so you learn independence, for ways. And I'm not saying it'll be like that forever, but just even the time being, there's probably a lot of lessons that go on with that,
No, it's so interesting you say that, because first of all, something that I found interesting about myself was that I have been in multiple long-term relationships, which is like, I'm like, why can't I find a guy who lives and stays in New York? Like, what is my
Let's just be happy you found a guy. I'm still looking for the guy, so thank God you found him.
I'll find one in New York and then they'll move.
Oh, wow.
Immediately after. So it's interesting that you say that. And
there's reasons, there's lessons there, right? We think it's like, why has this happened? But there's lessons behind all this.
Yeah. And I do feel like now at this point in my life, I have come to trust myself more. And I am very independent. And everyone who knows me, like for really as long, as forever, like I've always been a very independent person and sort of forging my own path. But there was definitely a time in my life where I felt like I still needed to rely on people. Yep. And I don't actually have that anymore.
Yeah, that's so good.
Yeah.
That's huge. Yeah. And as we evolve and get older, we have a tendency to move out of some of the shadow energy of the past. But, it's always there. Like it's always lurking. It's our comfortable spot. It's our unconscious behavior. So there will always be a tendency, oh, it's safe to fall back. Just like it's safe to fall back to my South Node, and everyone has that. But yeah, your soul is really moving into this beautiful independence. Now, if we look at the ruler of your North Node is here, it's Mars, and this is why you're so organized and so good with business. Hello. This is great. So your Mars is your will and your drive, and it's how we take action. It's our masculine energy. Well, yours is in Capricorn. Capricorn is all about business, efficiency, plans, schedules, this and that, and really is organized. Like I kind of would love to have a Mars in Capricorn. It would help me. Mine's in Leo. It's just like, I like to go big, woo, and like showy. But this is so good for business, so that's why you've done a lot of things so far. Now, the fact of the matter is here, it's in your third house. Your third house is the house of writing. It's the house of speaking. It's the house of podcasting. It's a house of sharing information. And you've done that, right? And so there will be more. There's more books coming for sure. It's natural for you. And here's the thing, you channel your books. Whether you realize it or not. I mean, I'm sure you're...
Oh, no,
I know you have information, but you're channeling because you have the planet Neptune that's connected to the spiritual realm in your third house. So you're literally channeling your information. Like that's how your mind works.
Oh, for sure. No, my first book there was no way that I could have, I don't know how I put it together so quickly and so thoroughly in the way that I did. It just came like... There was no writer's block. There was nothing. Like it just like
so beautiful.
Flowed.
Yeah, I could see that. And then you have this Mars there that's helping you put this together, in a orderly fashion. So that's beautiful.
And yes, I am very organized. I have a spreadsheet for everything.
Oh my God.
Legit
that's
everything.
Amazing. Okay, you also have, let's see here. I'm just looking at your Mars. So yes, we just talked about your South Node being in Libra and your North Node being in Aries. And so, anyone that shares that access, there's going to be similarities here, but it goes down to your chart because everyone is so different. You have Pluto in your first house next to your ascendant. This is powerful. Pluto is a planet connected to our soul's purpose. It means where we are going to redo ourselves and reinvent ourselves and go through many cycles and where we have power. So the fact that you have this next to your ascendant in your first house and it's squaring your North Node ruler, it shows me that you have this tenacity. You have this, you can keep going and going. Like if we were like in like the mud, you're going to get your way out and find the way and like find the diamond that's like buried under there. You have this will and this drive that is powerful. Like, do you know that?
That is totally
strong. And people that have, so I'm going to tell you this other thing because you might not realize this about yourself, but when I see people that have Pluto in the first house, they're healers. And healers come in many forms. You know, it doesn't have to just be like put your hands on people, could be, but you are a healer and you are powerful. So there's many layers of this, but you're transforming yourself constantly through life, regenerating because you were overpowered in another lifetime. And I think in a past lifetime, you actually were overpowered in relationships. And so right now you're learning to gain your power back and to not have that happen again. And it won't. But that's also where you're teaching people to step into the power. And because of that, you have this presence. So when people see you, obviously you're beautiful. Pluto there could be intimidated. So are people ever feel like, or say to you, like you have a really strong presence, or that's Pluto there in the first house because they see that right away. And Pluto's silent. It's not like you're wearing a shirt that says, "Hi, I have Pluto here, so that means I'm strong energy," but it's just what they feel, right? So that can intimidate some people, but it's really nice that you have that Libra to soften it,
Yeah. It's just so interesting how you can tell me about the traits that I have, right? And I see that.
And we don't know each other that well at all.
Exactly.
Yeah.
We only know each other from Instagram comments.
Right.
And this is the first time I'm actually meeting you in person.
Yeah.
But a lot of the traits that you're talking about are so spot on. And it's interesting just to hear you telling them to me and acknowledging them, because I think also sometimes we don't acknowledge.
Right. Or it's just natural to us, or we forget, or we're like, oh yeah. But now it's like, oh yeah, I do have that. Or yeah, I do feel that. Wow. Let me use this energy.
Right. Or just use your strengths, know what your strengths are, know what your weaknesses are, because that can help you really in any part of your life, whether it's business or relationships or whatever. Like knowing your strengths and weaknesses will allow you to really blossom in those areas.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah. And you have something really beautiful here. This helps. So it's a dichotomy again, because you have Pluto near your ascendant, but you also have Venus here. So you do have a strong presence, but also having Venus on your ascendant is like the best thing ever. I mean, this is people will grab. I mean, yes, there's a strength to you that just people that aren't strong enough or intimidated or jealous, are gonna not resonate with it. But having Venus there, Venus is beauty. Venus is divine feminine goddess. It's on your ascendant. So that's what people really do see when they see you. And you have ability to get people on your side, to like what you're saying, to like you. And it's also money. It's like if anyone could pick anything, like let's put Venus on one of the angles, especially the career angle or the ascendant, and it's like, oh, people just like you. It's like a little gift from the universe. So it's a really beautiful thing.
Universe.
Yes, yeah, it's really nice to have it there. It's like, hi, here I am, and then here's my feminine goddess energy just oozing out.
Yeah.
So that is also your gift. And do you do anything specifically like with women, like hormonally? Because that could be something as well, to like another course or something.
Interesting. I haven't traditionally, I don't do anything specifically with hormones. I mean, I do get into a little bit with acne and hormonal acne. But
well, there will be something that you specifically do for women. What I just said hormones because it was obvious for women, but it could be anything and it's going to come to you. Mm-hmm. But you're going to do something really focused specifically on women. That's going to be really good. And there's going to be many things. So it's not just one.
Interesting.
Yeah. So that's just to help you. Guidance. Yeah. Okay. So bringing this all back to career energy. So your, the 10th house is career, and you have your MC in there as well. Some of the way I pull up the chart, sometimes the MC, because someone that might know astrology, sometimes the MC falls in another house. So for her, it's also the MC is career. It's in her 10th house, and it's in Leo. Okay. So Leo is all about, first of all, most people that have a career angle in the fire signs have to run their own business. They're a boss lady for sure. And Leo is about you shining, you getting your message out and doing so in a playful way. And so being on stage, being in the present, anyone that has a Leo energy is not going to be just behind the scenes and not going to be seen. Now, there is a part of you, because the ruler of Leo is the sun, hiding in the 12th house. So even though you have that presence, there's a part of you that could be comfortable being behind the scenes, right? And not being there. Absolutely. But you're here to enlighten people through joy, through fun, through playfulness, through your hearts, and help people connect. And you're doing that because your sun's in the 12th house, is by helping people in an emotional way. So that's where you're helping people in the physical, that's your north node, but you're also still balancing it with the emotional. So the emotional and physical is huge. And that's where I think you're going to be getting more into the mind, body, soul, really channeling the information and helping them on an emotional level too.
So it's so interesting that you say that, because since I've started my business, I have had this sort of inner conflict, which was that even though the business is my name, but like I didn't want the business to ever be about me. And I was always very much behind the scenes, and I would share my recipes and share my advice. And I never really put my picture up, or I'd never really share about my own story or anything like that. And what I noticed is that, you know, once I started more recently, like sharing more photos, sharing more stories, sharing more things, people really resonate with that and people really connect with that. So yeah, there's definitely a part of me that would be very comfortable to be totally behind the scenes.
Because you have a sun in the 12th house. Absolutely.
Yeah, totally behind the scenes. But then there's that other part of me that realizes that it's much more powerful to be sort of front and center, because that's what people connect with. And I think that's how you do touch people on a more emotional level.
Yep. And with that Leo energy and in the 10th house, you are here to be an authority figure in your career. And so by being that, you are the face of everything. And so, you know, it is about connecting and but putting yourself out there to be seen, you know. So we're taking that south node that was in the 12th house out, bringing it into present day. So you're being present by not hiding behind, and also being seen as an authority figure in your career. But you're doing it through the vessel of helping people through their emotional world, where they're suffering, where they're struggling. So it's a combination of everything. It doesn't need to be separate.
Yeah. Interesting.
Yeah.
Wow. This is really just so enlightening. And again, it's just kind of cool to talk about it.
Yeah,
because
I love this stuff.
You see the patterns, and you just see things a little bit more clearly.
Yep. Yeah. And I mean, there's so much more, but we could talk for days. I mean, the last thing I'll just say here is you were born under a balsamic moon. So, you know, there's like a full moon and the new moon. So the balsamic moon is right before the new moon, and it's called the dark moon as well. So it's when there is the least amount of light. So when people have this, they are people that you actually need, even though you're a Libra and Libra likes relationships of all kinds. You need, your emotional body is actually very sensitive. So you need more time to rest and recuperate. And as you get older, that you'll see that even more too. And also you have this ability to, you know, balsamic moon babies, they're very much of, you can see from a higher perspective. It's like, okay, you don't get too much wrapped in the drama of it. It's like, okay, yeah, I've been there, done that. I'm just going to kind of pull myself out and like you guys take care of, like, or you guys be in that drama of it. It's many lifetimes that you're wrapping up, and it's kind of like you're standing on the penthouse looking down and seeing, okay, yeah, you know, I've done that. And now I'm going to just take the higher road, be here. So even though, again, that you're a Libra likes relationships, balsamic moon babies, they, you know, they could be by themselves longer, but because you have yourself in Libra and your sun in Libra, you know, and 12th house in Libra, past life in Libra, you are relationship oriented, but you're choosing this to help you with your north node. So even when you are married in relationship, there will be moments where it's like he does his thing, you do your thing, and that doesn't mean anything bad about the relationship. It's actually your time to fully connect and, you know, come back home to yourself in a beautiful way. So there's going to be more of that.
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. This has been so interesting and enlightening for sure. So I can see how this can really help someone figure out, like, I feel like I'm on my path and it very much aligns with what I'm doing. The chart is really aligns with what I'm already doing. But for someone who's maybe unsure about their path, or it can really help them kind of figure out, or maybe accept more. You know what I'm saying? Because like I wasn't always into health and nutrition. Like that really just came later. And even when I started getting into it, I didn't think I was going to make it my career for a long time. So.
Oh, it's right here.
Yeah.
It's happening. Yeah. And I mean, the intuition is coming through. I mean, you even have your Mercury, which is the way you think, in the 12th house. So, I mean, you are 100% channeling constantly. You're getting more psychic information than you realize. So I would say to you is take this from this point forward, take this as an opportunity to really observe yourself and realize, wow, yeah, I did get that. I did sense that, and start seeing and how it's coming through and how you're connecting it. Because spirit uses all different ways to connect. So start being more observant to it, and you're going to start seeing how connected that you really are.
Yeah, I will do that for sure. So I could talk to you all day about this.
I mean, we could talk for 10 years about this.
So crazy.
Yeah.
So in closing, I'd love to ask, this is a question that I ask everyone on the podcast. If you can leave our listeners with just one piece of advice to live a happier and healthier life, what would that be?
It's actually what I just shared yesterday in my talk at the assemblage, and I find this to be so valuable with everything, is that we need to remember that everything is temporary. And that means emotions, that means trauma, that means, horrible things that might have happened or, scenarios. But that also means relationships. And now I'm not saying this in a negative way at all, but it's important that we see that everything is temporary, that it actually helps us live a better life, that there's going to be ebbs and flows of emotion and experiences. And even if we, are broke 1 month or broke one day, it's not going to be like that forever. So everything is temporary, and that we get so stuck and connected to this third dimensional reality of, I don't have money, or, life is just so hard. But we need to take a step back and pull ourselves out and see ourselves from a higher perspective, that we are creators, that we have God consciousness in us, that we have the ability to change our life at any moment, and that this is such a small blip in the whole trajectory of our soul experience. So appreciate and have fun, and don't take things too seriously, but take them seriously enough that you can change the world in a beautiful way.
So beautifully said.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. And where can people connect with you?
On Instagram at I am Danielle Paige, and that's Paige. And also on my website, it's getting switched over soon. So right now it's Healing Paige, Paige. And if that doesn't work or redirects you, my new website will be Danielle Paige.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much, Danielle.
Thank you so much for having me. This was great.
Thanks for tuning in this week. If you enjoyed and got value from this episode, I'd be so grateful if you can take just 1 minute to leave an honest review on iTunes, as that will help us reach more people and get incredible guests on the show. To say thank you, email a screenshot of your review to info@mariamarlowe.com, and we'll send you a free 3-day healthy eating sugar detox meal plan. After each and every episode, I encourage you to come say hi on Instagram at Maria Marlowe, that's MariaMarlowe, or in the private Happier and Healthier podcast group on Facebook. In both of these places, we can continue the conversation about today's episode, so come and share what you think. If you want more, you can also head to mariamarlowe.com, where you'll find tons of healthy recipes, meal plans, and resources to help you live your healthiest and happiest life. Lastly, if there's someone you know who'd enjoy this podcast, make their day, and mine, and send it to them now. Until next time, don't forget, health and happiness are a choice. Our thoughts become our reality, so make sure you're thinking up a masterpiece.